We do. Well, we get the. Hey, y'all, good evening. Welcome back to another edition of Brothas-in-law. Those of you new to the channel, I'm Corey Taylor, and this is my brother from another mother, Mr. Michael Bradley. We're both prior law enforcement police officers. I was a Virginia State Trooper here in the state of Virginia, and Mike is a retired police officer out of Pleasanton, California. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks. It's good to be back. I see you, Tone. Happy Veterans Day to you. I think you served in the military, if I'm not wrong, Tone. If I'm wrong, well, okay. But thanks for the Happy Veterans Day.
Yeah, thanks, Tone. Appreciate you, brother. We got an interesting show tonight, but before we dive into it, always everybody go ahead and take a moment to smash that like, share, and subscribe button for us over on YouTube and on Facebook, and get this shared out far and wide. This is a pretty interesting topic we got tonight. This involves a young man in Indianapolis that had a serious incident with the Indianapolis police. I think this took place back on September 24th. It's just getting out into the mainstream media now. And so Mike and I are going to tackle it. And once again, we'll break it down and see if this is what a reasonable officer would have done or should have done. You may agree with what we're saying, or you may disagree with what we're saying. But either case, go ahead and leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think. What would you have done in this type of situation? How would you have handled it? And Mike and I will share a couple of stories that we personally been involved with, similar altercations like this one here, and we'll talk to you about how we handle our situation. And being that Mike and I, two different types of police forces, and we both handle our situations differently. Was one right and one wrong? Nope, but just different policies, different tactics, but get the same result. So, you got anything before we jump into it, Mike?
No, it's good to be back. I hope everybody's having a safe weekend. Little bit of long weekend for a lot of people having Veterans Day off. This is for me, this is actually like the second time I actually had Veterans Day off in a long time.
Yeah,
actually, because I'm usually working on Veterans Day, you know.
Yeah, me too.
Back in the day, so that's nice. But happy Veterans Day to all our veterans. And
happy Veterans Day. Thank you all. Thank you all for your service, man. We greatly appreciate it. And just to let everybody know, Mike and I both served too, so we got both angles covered, military and police. So we thank all of y'all who paid the ultimate sacrifice of being separated from your families for a very long time. We know how that is, being gone on deployment. So thank you all for your service. So without further ado, my brother, let's go ahead and kick this video off. Let me go ahead and share screen. And this is graphic, so just be mindful of that. So if you want to just turn your volume up and turn your head so you don't have to see this, then, by all means do so. All right, let me go ahead and hook this up. All right, here we go. And it's a very short video, so it's only about 1 minute and 10 seconds. So here we go.
Okay. So this guy was stopped for disturbance call or something like that, and they got him handcuffed for that reason.
Yeah, I'm not here complaining. Like I said, nobody cares what you do anymore. I know nobody cares what you do anymore. You understand that? Lean back. Nobody cares what you do anymore. Lean back. How the fuck am I gonna lean back with the fucking you on the split? Right? We're not gonna do this, right? We're done. You're done. You're done. You're done. Are we done now? Roll over. You're done. I can't. Roll over. I can't. You're done. There you go. You're done. There you go. There you go. Police brutality. There you go.
There you have it.
Okay.
There you have it.
Welcome to the show, Zach.
Damn.
Yeah. That was a graphic. Clearly, as we were saying before, Corey, on that, the officer clearly lost his cool. The guy was running his mouth. We know who knows how long he was chirping off at the officers before they showed the video like that. But you're gonna have plenty of incidents like that where a suspect is going to try to get up under your skin. But as an officer, we are held to a much higher standard. And you're gonna be dealing with some idiots on the street. You cannot lose your cool and kick somebody in the head. That's unacceptable. As an officer, that clearly that's an obvious case of the guy. And Corey, you said he was a sergeant, a supervisor, right? He was
the officer involved in this did kicking.
Okay, was it even more so? It's like, okay, you the supervisor of the officers on the street as it is, and you going up there and you kicking some guy in the head. It really don't matter how much he was running his mouth. It was uncalled for to kick him in the head like that. Now, was it uncalled for? Some people might even say it was uncalled for him to be taken to the ground. What do you think of that, Corey?
Well, again, I've been in a situation like that. I understand how folks can get under your skin like that. When you're being called every name but the name your mother gave you, that's gonna, you got to separate the street from your professional. You can't go hood on somebody on the street, even though you feel like you got to match that, right? And then they're gonna pressure every button you have to get you to do something. And so I don't have a problem with him taking them to the ground like that, if that was to gain control so he could finish doing his search of him. I guess that's what he was doing. So I don't really necessarily have a problem with that takedown. But the problem is, the sergeant coming up, then you can clearly see him walking up and kicking him dead in the face. Now, the officer stated that in his testimony that he was going to place his foot on the shoulder. Okay. But that's not how you do it. You weren't even in the ballpark of the shoulder. Your foot went straight to the face. Yeah. Right? My shoulder is here. Right? My face is here. This is where you got all this. With your foot. So you told me you missed the mark. And so now, had he just knelt down,
that was some American History X stuff right there. That's exactly right.
Oh yeah. And yeah, Stacey, I agree. It was uncalled for. He was already on the ground, right? And that's what I was getting ready to get to, is that he was already down. So if you're gonna do anything, you could have kneeled down and put your knee on his shoulder, or you could just kneel down and put a hand on his shoulder.
Yeah. I mean, and in my opinion,
level force, which is, I think using that level of force, Mike, where you froze up real quick.
Okay.
I just think that was just unnecessary.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, I agree because like I say, him getting ready to put his foot on his shoulder. I don't know if I even buy that as an officer, because the guy wasn't really even wasn't really struggling with anybody. You see what I'm saying? Once he was on the ground, he was on the ground. He wasn't really fighting, not to a degree where you felt that you had to pin him down. He was already handcuffed. So there was no squirming.
Yeah.
I didn't see any squirming. I didn't see anything that would cause an officer to feel the need to pin him down with a foot. You see what I'm saying? He was already handcuffed.
Right.
Matter of fact, I'll even go as far as to say it may not have even been necessary to take him down to the ground. Now, this officer in this case did take him down to the ground. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to say that that's necessarily wrong. I'm not saying that it's wrong. But it may not have been necessary. If I got you handcuffed and I'm getting ready to either give you a ticket or I'm getting ready to transport you somewhere, then we're going to get that rolling. I'm not going to bother taking you down to the ground unless you are resisting or trying to, put up some type of physical resistance towards me. Yes, people, when you're handcuffed, you can physically resist officers. You can. That has happened. Okay. But other than that, in this case, I didn't see that was necessary.
No. I mean, I'm like you. I'm on the fence with the takedown. Was it necessary? Could you done something differently other than taking down? Could all of you put more hands on and kind of just hold them up and hold them still? Yeah, you could have. Now, what was their policy? Could he have taken them down in accordance with their policy, and got him more under control? Right? It's easy to get somebody under control that's handcuffed on the ground than versus trying to get him under control where they're standing up and still have some type of balance because they're on their feet. Right. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's not something that I would just, that guy, obviously the arresting officer, I don't think is going to receive any type of charges against him because, I mean, clearly he didn't do anything wrong. It's just a matter of
it was the other guy that kicked him in the head.
Yeah, it was the supervisor that kicked in the head. And so, yeah, I agree with Zach here. This officer's an example of the one bad apple that makes the rest of their jobs harder. Yeah, I mean, now you got. See, the problem I have now is everybody's going to make this into a racial incident. Right, here we go again. White officer, beating up on an innocent black man who just handcuffed. Well, now he ain't innocent because he did something to gain their attention. It was a call of service, and he did something wrong in order to be detained and put in handcuffs. So
true. I'm definitely not going to say this dude was an angel. You know what I mean? But
he didn't deserve that.
That's what I'm saying. However, in spite of all of that, the kick in the head, like we say, like Corey and I say on this show all the time, if we see an officer doing some stupid stuff, we're gonna call you out too. You see what I'm saying? I ain't got no problem saying that was unreasonable or that was abuse or whatever it was. Yeah. Now, Corey, you mentioned that some people are gonna call out a racial incident. I don't know this officer that kicked him in the head. I don't know him personally. Obviously, we don't know him. I don't know what's in his head. But I can tell you that, officers, do I see this happening with this guy if this dude were white? Probably, because clearly this officer allowed someone to get underneath their skin and allowed them to react in a way that was completely unprofessional. So simple as that. Ain't no nice way of putting that. And you can't do that. You can't do that. The officer deserves whatever he got coming to him because you did. Come on, man. We Corey, you and I both have been in situations where you dealing with a suspect and they getting up underneath your skin and you want to pop them in the mouth so bad, but you can't. You got to control yourself. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We both have been there plenty of times dealing with people on the street. some people would say, and I'm gonna bring this up too. I'm gonna bring this side up because you're gonna have some people that's not going to agree or not want to bring it up. Now, obviously, if you are the type of person that's going to talk a lot of mess to the officers, okay, well, you kind of asking for something more to happen. Because remember what we say on the show all the time, we're gonna tell you how to act no matter what kind of officer you get. Okay, so if you start chirping off at the mouth at the wrong officer, you might get that officer that is going to do something stupid, that like we always say. So obviously we're going to tell you, if you get stopped by the cops, obviously we're going to say, don't start talking mess. Don't try to get up underneath their skin. There are suspects out there who will design a call to get underneath the officer's skin. They'll try to push that to see what that officer is going to do, to test that officer. Corey, you and I have been in situations like that, I'm sure, multiple times where it's clear that this dude is trying to get underneath my skin. You see what I'm saying? But no matter what, you got to be professional as an officer. You can't be kicking nobody in the head like that. I mean, that's just unacceptable. Period.
Yeah, like I said, a guy tried that with me, and trying to get him under control, he slipped on some gravel and went down to the ground. Yeah, I mean, but you they're out here trying to police officers have a job to do, right? It's to investigate the incident and determine whether or not charges need to be issued or not. And you mouthing off like this because you assume you didn't do anything wrong, and just blatantly just going off on the officer. Like in my case, I mean, it was a white guy, right, who thought he was blacker than me, called me every name in the book but the name my mother gave me. Right? He called me a token boy, Uncle Tom, the N-word, MF, all this stuff, man. And and it took a lot for me to hold myself back, because I just wanted to take his head right off his shoulders. And you got to stay professional. It's like, hey, look, we're not gonna have all these name calls. I'm not addressing you in that manner. You should not be addressing me like that. I don't give a if, but you're right. Had he had got somebody, he would have popped them off at the mouth like this, no matter what type of officer he would have got. He was gonna pop off at the mouth like this because he was intoxicated and a complete excuse my words, Mom, I know you're probably listening, but he was a complete dickhead. And I document everything, and when we went to court, I read verbatim what he said in the courtroom. All he could do was stand there with his head dropped, and the judge ate him up. Right? It's a level of responsibility as an officer you got to have when dealing with people. You got to be very, very temperament. You got to control yourself. And I think this officer here in this situation, if something set him off to be that way, he should have had the willingness to pull himself out of that situation, especially being in the supervisory role.
Yeah, he should have take a step back.
Yeah,
when he started to approach, he knew his emotions was getting high. He probably should have just took a step back and not even tried to get involved. Yeah, so sergeants show up all the time at calls. You see what I'm saying? But
exactly.
most of the time they show up, they observe what's going on. They're there if you need to ask him any questions or need any kind of direction. You know what I'm saying? But most of the time, it's the officers on the scene that's dealing with the suspect. It's their call. It's their decision to do whatever they feel is necessary to do. You see what I'm saying? In this case, that sergeant, took an active role in the call for service, clearly, and lost it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't try to make an excuse for him. And I'm glad the department came out as quick as they did after they did their initial investigation and put this video out to the public, to know that, I mean, they were pretty swift in their actions. They quickly brought him up on charges, and now whether or not he this situation here is going to qualify for federal charges, I don't know. It's a lot that goes into bringing charges up federally on somebody, especially if you're talking about violation of the civil rights. There's 4 things that need to be considered in order for you can say, yeah, this guy's civil liberties were violated. If those things don't meet those 4 criteria, then no federal charge is going to be brought against him. And you know what? And I used to know him verbatim by heart. Now I can't even think of it right now. But I'm gonna look him up again, and we'll bring it up on the next show. But there's 4 things it has to meet the criteria in order for civil liberty charges, violation of civil rights charges, would be brought up against him. So whether or not they do that investigation and find reason that where his rights were violated, then the guy's going to be sitting probably on a gold mine. I'm sure he's going to be suing the city, and then these type of things. This is the one thing. Now I get a little sidetracked here because I don't want to leave anything out. Now let's talk about Mike. What difference would this have made if he would have followed the calm acronym? Yeah.
Oh, it would have been completely different. He wouldn't have got kicked in the head. He probably wouldn't have even gone down, taken to the ground. Nonetheless, I don't think this guy cared to follow any calm acronym. I think he was pissed off that these officers were doing whatever they were doing, and he was, running his mouth trying to get underneath their skin. I think he was trying to push these officers into doing something stupid. And guess what? He did.
He did.
One of the officers did do something stupid. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm sure he'll get a nice little settlement from the city. Whatever happened, but it is what it is. Like I say again, officers are held to a higher standard. We cannot lose our cool like that in any given situation to where we are physically abusing somebody like that. You kicking somebody in the head for what? You see what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, they were running their mouth. You know how many people run their mouth to cops all the time, and if we allow that to affect us and to fly off the handle and do something stupid every time, we'd be in a world of mess. You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, it ain't no excusing what this officer did. We are in no way trying to stick up for this officer or make it sound like, he did this for a particular reason. Only thing we can say is, we've been there where we felt like doing something like that before, but so we can understand the feeling that the officer may have had when he lost it, but that doesn't excuse the action itself. As officers, you ain't gonna do something stupid. You got your cameras going and everything too. You know what I'm saying? How stupid can you be to go up and kick somebody in the head like that? It's unnecessary. It makes our job tough as an officer. Officers got to deal with the public, both knuckleheads and non-knuckleheads. You see what I'm saying? All day. So it just makes our job harder because it makes people look at the officers as the enemy. You see what I'm saying? No, they shouldn't do that, but they do. Unfortunately, they do. You see what I'm saying? You have enough people that do, which causes this perception that all cops are bad. You see what I'm saying? And this guy shouldn't have done that. It is what it is.
Now, it's definitely not what a reasonable officer would have done. And you're in a supervisory role, so proper techniques that you should be doing. And to say that I was going to put my foot on his shoulder and you missed, clearly you wasn't aiming for his shoulder.
No, clearly he meant to kick this dude. Even if he was going to put his foot on his shoulder, he still did it in a way that it was meant to cause pain to this dude.
Yeah, I mean, he busted his lip and everything. And I don't know if he received any stitches or anything like that, but you know, you can't do that. That's just not, it's uncalled for. You know, like you said a few minutes ago, Mike. I mean, we live in a time now where we have to, as law enforcement, you're pretty much walking on eggshells.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you have to be cautious of what you're doing. You have to be cautious of what your surroundings are, because not only do you have the body cams on, like you were saying, but you got everybody else around that's watching. Like in the video, you know, you kept hearing some gentleman say, "Up, yep, police brutality. That's it, police brutality." So somebody's walking around there with a cell phone camera, also videotaping this. So as an officer, and I understand, you know, sometimes you get that tunnel vision, you get caught up in the moment, and you're so zoned in on the situation at hand, you're not really thinking what's outside that tunnel, and meaning, as you know, who cameras, who's watching, witnesses, all this stuff, because you're tunnel vision, you're locked into what's going on. But as we always say, you know, you got to keep your head on a swivel. You have to maintain 360 situational awareness, paying attention to what's going on, who's doing what, this, that, and the other. So that helps you keep yourself in line. Oh, that dude's over there videotaping. I better not do anything stupid, right?
True.
And you should have that kind of mindset anyway, especially if you're wearing, you know, body camera.
That's right. And you should have that kind of mindset, period.
Right.
Now when you say that, you should have that, like you said, you should have that kind of mindset, whether you have a camera on or not. A reasonable, good officer is always going to be on their toes. I never felt, when I first became a cop, we didn't always have body cameras, obviously. You see what I'm saying? But we had gotten them. We had them for a long time before I retired. But we worked a long time where, you know, not too many officers, not too many departments wore body cameras. But I never felt, when I got the body camera, it was always something of, you just get this natural feeling of, oh, somebody's watching me, or I better make sure I don't say anything silly, or I don't do anything stupid, because it's going to be caught on camera. You see what I'm saying? And once you hit that record button, that can't go away. You can't erase that once it's being recorded. You see what I'm saying? So that was really it. It took some getting used to. But outside of that, once I got comfortable with the camera, I always wondered, I couldn't do this job without a camera. You see what I'm saying? That camera protected the officer more than it showed those bad officers doing bad stuff. You see what I'm saying? So I think most officers look at those body cameras that way. I'm hitting that body camera to protect myself, so that you can see what I did, and you can see what that person did, what the suspect did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, I also like to see too, I mean, the officer was wrong, what he did. We're not saying anything different on that. But, you know, is he a bad officer? Has he done anything like this before? We don't know. I mean, he could have been, you know, the officer of the year when he was, you know, or rookie of the year when he came out of the academy. You know, I don't know what type of accolades he's received, or how long he's been on the force to obtain the rank of sergeant. We don't know. I'm sure all that will play out, but that still doesn't justify what he did. Did he just make a boneheaded mistake and use excessive use of force? In my humble opinion, would be yes, he did. Because he did not have to do that. And the guy was on the ground, on his back, handcuffed. He was not a threat at that point.
I agree.
I mean, well, could he still been a threat? Yeah, he could have used his feet to kick and this and that and the other.
Well, sure. You can become a threat even if you're handcuffed. I agree with that. You know, but in this case,
but in this case, he was not. I think another officer had jumped on him right prior to him getting kicked in the face, grabbing his feet. I think it was. But so that level of force this sergeant did clearly wasn't necessary. Should he spend the rest of his life in jail? No. Should he do jail time? Yes. For what he did, I believe he should do some jail time. He should never be able to be in law enforcement ever again, which I'm sure he won't be. But that's the things you have to deal with when you make a boneheaded mistake like that.
Yeah, I agree. That's what whatever he's got coming to him, whatever a court. I understand they charged him. Now, if he gets convicted of something, he gets whatever he's supposed to get. You see what I'm saying? I don't have any problem with the system working its way through what he did. I mean, he made a bonehead decision, and in my opinion, there's a difference between making a decision that turns out not to be good, right, versus making a decision to do something excessive as far as force is concerned. If you are kicking somebody in the head, that's a little bit a different kind of bad decision than say, or I let this person go, or I didn't fill out this ticket right, or I should have arrested this person when I didn't. You see what I'm saying? Something along those lines. That's a little bit different type of bad decision versus something like this. You see what I'm saying? Cops make bad decisions. I'm sure there have been some decisions in my career that I made that I look back and say, actually, I wish I would have done it this way, or actually, I wish I would have done it this way. You know what I'm saying? There's always some bad decisions like that, but kicking somebody in the head, that comes from an emotional part. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's an emotional decision that you're making, and that's completely different.
It was almost like he came, like Zach said earlier, he came out of nowhere, just all nonchalant, and just boom, kicked him in the head. All right, you're done. You're done. I like, dang, man, that was it. I mean, the first time I saw it, and I always try to keep an open mind on these things. I tell a buddy of mine, don't always be quick to rush to judgment when you see these things. Because guaranteed, there's more to it than what you're seeing. Well,
sure.
Unfortunately, in this case, I mean, this is pretty cut and dry, right? I saw a guy that was on his back. He was handcuffed, right? He was clearly not a threat. And the officer comes up and just, kicks him in. Now, all he's doing is just running his mouth, right? Did he say some things you didn't like, the officer didn't like? I'm pretty sure he did. Did that mean that the guy deserved to get kicked in the face? Absolutely not. Right? You can't do that. That's what's giving the police, like you said earlier, Mike, the bad rap that puts the big X on a police officer's back. Right? It's bad enough the job is dangerous as it is. Now you're putting a bigger, gigantic X on their backs now because now you're definitely making it out that the police are enemy number one now. You're making it harder for a police officer to do the job, or making it harder for police departments to recruit future law enforcement officers because, if I had to, I as much as I love policing, I don't know, Mike, if I could put the uniform on again.
Well, times are different now. Like you said, policing is a whole lot different to where, that's a whole nother topic. We can get into that as far as how I feel about whether or not I would encourage my sons or daughters to be police officers today. I will say, just a quick blanket without getting too deep into it, policing today it was difficult when we were doing it, but it's much more difficult today because the perception of every officer is racist or every officer is bad, that is so much stronger today to where you naturally are going to meet you can be butting heads with a lot of people out there because like it or not, police officers have authority. They need to use that authority over people when it's necessary. You can't just go up to an officer and say, I ain't doing what you told me to do. You know what I'm saying? So you will always have that element that's in police work.
Right.
But that element doesn't match well with people who don't like to be told what to do. So you will always have conflict there. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And even more so today, that's going to be even more complicated.
Yeah. So, hey, real quick, go ahead. If you're jumping on board here tonight, checking this out, go ahead and hit that like button. Thank you, Aunt Carol, for hitting the like button for us. And share this out far and wide to everybody, and try to get us into that YouTube algorithm so we get put on more people's I don't even know what you call it, their screen page. To get our viewership up and our subscription up. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner, I think it is, of your screen, and stay up to date on all our latest videos. So also, if you like the content of this video, go ahead and leave us a comment below. Tell us what you like about this video, and clearly your opinion on it. Do you think this officer was justified in what he did? I think we can all agree that he was not justified in what he was doing, and he was not acting as a reasonable officer. And that's key in everything that Mike and I talk about, is what a reasonable officer would do, you know. And that's key. And are you, could these things have been prevented if you're using the calm acronym: comply, answer questions, listen, and moving on? I mean, I was talking to a lady the other night, you know, about it, and it's just like, it's a common question, Mike, that I always get, and I'm pretty sure you probably get while you're out and about when you start talking to people, and it's like, you know, what's wrong with these young folks? Right? They have no respect for authority. And how do we get it back? How do you get that authority back? You know, and I told her, I said, I'll never forget when I was talking to these two old black men at a coffee shop I would get my coffee from, and we were talking about that. And one guy said to me, he said, "Well, Trooper," he said, "they need to get their ass whooped."
Back in the day, that's what happened.
That's what he said. And I looked at him, I was like, what? He said that police need to whip their ass like they used to. He said,
it's funny, Corey. We grew up in a time where that was normal. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Getting a whooping was normal. That was normal stuff. That's what was expected. If you screwed up bad enough, you was gonna get a whooping. You see what I'm saying? Now that, but you know what? It's funny. As I've gone through life, I kind of see the benefits of both sides. I mean, some people might agree with physical discipline, some people may not. I think it all depends on the child. I think it all depends on what that child is doing and what pathway that child is going down. You see what I'm saying? I do believe in corporal punishment. I do believe that it should remain legal for parents to spank their children. You know what I'm saying? However,
Mike, you know as well as I do, when we was growing up, what was it? Spare the rod, spoil the child.
That's right.
They say that's in the Bible.
You was gonna get handled if you did something wrong. And you
think about it, Mike.
You was also gonna get handled by the other people, adults who knew you too. You see what I'm saying?
But
they were gonna say something to you.
Think about it, Mike. Think back when we was growing up, right? When we'd be out doing whatever, kicking it, whatever, and we'd be at a football game or something. We seen muds getting handled by the police. What we used to say, like, we ain't gonna do that. What you do? We didn't want to do that. Why? Because we didn't want to get our butts whipped. Right now, not only by the police, but by our parents. Right.
Things are a lot different today. Things are a lot different today. Kids look at, not all kids. I mean, I don't want to blanket it to all
kids aren't.
There's some very squared away young folks out there. I mean, doing right things, I mean, even some young folks who might be against certain things that I'm for, they're still squared away and doing the right thing with themselves. You see what I'm saying? I'm gonna switch it up a little bit.
But
go ahead.
But the point being is, though, I mean, it's all about you recognizing and seeing that. And see, the problem is these young folks know now they can go out here and pop off at the mouth. For example, at my son's high school, I was talking to the resource officer there. His hands are tied because he's all his whole day is spent, breaking up fights and things like this, and he's not taking charges or anything out on these kids because he knows at the courts they're not going to do anything. Why? Because this whole called police reform thing and trying not to get these kids into the so-called system, the pipeline, they're not charging these kids, so they're just having a battle royal in the schools. That's what's going on in the school system. And I think too, Mike, I'm gonna try to work it out. I'm gonna try to find a retired resource officer to bring them on to the show, or if I can get a resource officer on the show so we can talk about what's going on in these schools. Schools are out of control, and that's where the breakdown is too. And it carries on into the streets, and then they end up being involved and getting involved with the police and having total disregard, like this young man here in the video that we're talking about, just popping off at the mouth. It doesn't help your situation, right?
I agree. I think kids today are much more not just kids, just young adults in general too. Kids and young adults. We call them all kids, right?
But that liquid Tone said.
Yeah, and Tone is right. When I grew up, even your neighbors would whoop you behind. That's true. You acted up bad enough, you was gonna get it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
I think today, in this new generation of young adults, these kids they're just more comfortable talking back to authority. They're more comfortable resisting authority. They don't care. You can't do this to me. You can't tell me that. You can't make me do this or that. They're just a lot of them are just saying it blindly. You know what I mean? Without knowing any of the law themselves about you can't do this. Folks who will always tell you, especially when you're dealing with police, always comply. Always do what they need you to do. You can save the argument for courtroom. One thing I wanted to bring up real quick. I think we got a little bit of time here, not too much, I understand, but Tone had mentioned something about, and we're gonna switch it up a little bit. He had mentioned something about how officers respond to homeless people. And I think I can answer that because we get I've gotten a lot of calls throughout my career on patrol dealing with homeless people. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes we might be able to make another show of this, but I'm gonna bring up some points real quick because we got a little bit of time. But dealing with homeless people can be tricky because you don't have no place to put them. You see what I'm saying? I think a lot of times in the past when people call the cops on homeless people, they call the cops thinking that the police can come out there and instantly take this person somewhere to not be homeless. You see what I'm saying? And that's just not the case. Half the time, the police department doesn't have any homeless resources to refer them to. That's going to be a quick and effective solution for someone who's homeless. And it's been my experience, Tone, dealing with a lot of homeless people on the street. A lot of homeless people would rather be homeless than to be in a situation where some of the resources are, such as a shelter, such as a place like that where it might be temporary or something like that. They would rather live on the street in their environment and what they're used to than to be pulled out from that and put in a shelter. Now, you got a lot of homeless people with a lot of mental health issues. That's a common thing throughout the homeless community. Mental health and or drugs or alcohol or anything like that. You see what I'm saying? Not all homeless people. Some homeless people just had some very unfortunate times and didn't have a lot of help. Those are few and far between, but those are the ones that are most likely to accept any resources that you have. But again, resources that we had that police have most of the time are not resources where like we say, we show up and just that moment we can go ahead and put you into a home or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, if you committing a crime, usually that's where we get a call for service, is if a homeless person is causing a disturbance, if they're trespassing on property where they're not supposed to be, or just regular crimes that you see every day, whether it's a battery, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's drug use or anything like that. We get there, we talk to the homeless people. We got to deal with the crime that was reported initially. We got to do something about that, right? Whether that's you taking to jail, whether that's you giving a ticket. A lot of times, if you're homeless, we're not going to give you a ticket because we can't just release you on the scene when you don't have no home address or home base. You see what I'm saying? To get a ticket in the mail or something like that. We usually will book them into jail because they're homeless. So we have to at least book you into jail to make sure you show up to court. You see what I'm saying? But homeless people, they've been. I know you guys have seen plenty of things in the media, and there've been plenty of discussions about what do we do about the homeless people. But I wanted to just address that real quick for Tone, as far as what a patrol officer can do with contacting a homeless person. You see what I'm saying? And there isn't a lot other than dealing with the call at hand or the crime at hand. And we'll try to offer them resources, but most of the time they don't take advantage of the resources. It's been my experience. It's been my experience in dealing with homeless people that most of the time they don't want to, they don't want to be put in the shelter. They want to be right where they are, and they want to be left alone. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That doesn't always happen that way. You see what I'm saying? But that is the case. Yeah. If you got any more questions about that, Tone, maybe we could do another show and get deeper into that or something like that. What about you, Corey, real quick? What did you ever get any calls? I know you were on the highway a lot, but did you ever
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's not very many resources available for. I usually would have to contact the city guys and say, hey man, I got a homeless person. Where's the nearest shelter I can take this person to? And a lot of times they were like, well, there's really nowhere for them to go. Or if there were somewhere for them to go, it's too late at night, because like most of them, they have to check in by like 8-9 o'clock that evening in order to get a bed. So if it's 1-2 o'clock in the morning, where are you going to take them? The best we could do is just get them off the interstate, because they can't be on the interstate. I mean, and 9 times out of 10, most of them have some type of mental health issue. When you try to get a gauge of it by just striking a conversation with them while they're in your vehicle. And try to get a feel for their mental state. And then, there's been several times that I would just take them to the hospital to get reevaluated, right? One time a guy was just let out of prison or out of jail and had really no papers on him. I knew he was a mental case because he told me he was Zeus and he was 2,000 years old. I said, oh yeah, I know exactly where you're going. This is like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, if I remember correctly. So where is he going? What shelter is he going to at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, right? So the only thing I can do is, one, get him off the interstate, two, take him to the nearest hospital, for evaluation. So at least I know for evaluation, they're going to keep him in there at least for the night for observation. He'll see a doctor. And then from there, maybe they can get him to getting other help. Maybe he may get put into a mental health institution because clearly he has some issues. But yeah, that's definitely a show that we could do. Hey, if you have a suggestion that you would like for a show you would like for us to do, leave us a comment below. You can also hit us up at the Brothas-in-law 21@gmail.com. And leave us a suggestion of a show you would like for us to do, or a video you would like for us to break down and get our perspective on it of what you would like to, what we would think would happen or should have happened in the situation. Again, hit us up at Brothas-in-law 21@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Again, go ahead, hit that like, share, and subscribe button for us to get us out there so more people can see this video. and all our other videos that we've done over the last several months. And,
and Zach made a good comment too. That would be a good video to do. Maybe we could do something like that in the future too. That's a good comment, Zach, and good topic, especially with this Arbery case going on right now.
Oh yeah,
about civilians, physically detaining people and stuff like that. We could definitely do a show on that too.
Oh yeah. That definitely be a good one too. So yeah, like Zach just did, y'all let us know what you think. We love to hear your suggestions, and like Mike said, we'll definitely put this on our calendar and start looking for certain videos that this would relate to, and break it down and talk about it. So this is what it's all about, everyone, to have this discussion about policing in our communities and what we can do to make things better, and what are your responsibilities as a citizen when interacting with law enforcement. So I think we can wrap it up, Mike. We're in 51 minutes in, so I think this was another great show.
Yeah, it was a good show. We got some good information out there.
Yeah.
And like we always say, we'll point out what's wrong. If an officer screws up, makes a dumb mistake, loses it or something, we'll be glad to tell you, yeah, that was wrong and it shouldn't have happened. You see what I'm saying? I got no problem pointing that out.
Yeah.
So
and definitely this was one of them. He should not have done it, and he was wrong.
Wrong. That's right.
All right. So without that, anything else, y'all have a great weekend. We love you. Thank you for tuning in to us, and tell everybody about us. Hey, y'all need to check out the Brothas-in-law, right? Come check us out every Thursday at 8 o'clock. Be there or be square. All right, y'all be safe. Enjoy your Veterans Day, and thank you again all for your service. Mike, thank you for your service.
And thank you for yours.
Oh yeah, likewise, my brother. All right, we'll see y'all next week. Peace.